Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to another video. I am very excited for today's video, although I'm a little bit nervous about it because we're going to be talking about my pile of shame. Now, this is a pile of books that I have started reading and have put down for whatever reason or another, books that I have every intention of going back to at some point, just haven't gone around to them. Some of them are put on for certain reasons and others not so much. I just haven't found the time to find my way back to them, find them back on my TBR. So here we are with 10 books to talk about that are on my pile of shame. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm gonna start with the two books that I don't actually own. The first one being Never Look Back, and this is by Liliam Rivera. Sorry, I had to read that from my iPad. But it was an ebook that I ended up picking up through NetGalley. It was an approved ARC that came out a while ago that I had never got around to reading. It was on my TBR from, I think, September, and I started reading it, didn't really vibe with the story itself, and just didn't want to force myself to read an ebook. I find that now that I've gotten so used to reading physical books, ebooks are a little bit harder for me to read because I can't really gauge my process on how far I've gotten with them. And so they make it a little bit harder for me to want to pick up. And the fact that I wasn't fully engaged into the story made me want to pick it up even less. So I just never got around to finishing it. I do really want to finish it because I want to raise my NetGalley score. And I only read the first couple of chapters, so it really isn't a deciding factor on whether or not I'm going to love a book because the writing style was good. The characters were okay as far as I know. It just wasn't gripping me enough to want to read it right then and there. So fortunately, still need to read that one, but we'll get there. The second one that I don't own is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and I'm really sad to say that I have this on my pile of shame. I was reading this at the very beginning of the year, and I had taken out a library loan for the physical book, and I got about halfway through and then had to take it back to the library. There was a long hold, and I couldn't renew my loan, so unfortunately, that is on my pile of shame. I was really enjoying it, really liking the writing style, really liked where the story was going. I was really intrigued. I loved the characters. I loved the imagery that the story was, and it was just so much fun to read. But unfortunately, I had to give back to the library, and I haven't found myself wanting to purchase it, only because, for shallow reasons, I'm not gonna lie, I really want the UK edition of the book and not the American edition. I love it with the blue, spirally colors and the gold with the B on the front and the key on the back. Like, I really want that edition. That's the reason why I haven't bought it and haven't picked it back up again, but I will buy it at some point and get to it. I do really want to read it, so I will have to just bite the bullet and do that soon. All right, moving on to my physical books that are on my pile of shame. This is the one that I've added the most recently, and that is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. Unfortunately, this one went onto my pile of shame. I was reading this last month. It was on last month's TBR, and I was enjoying what I read. I thought that it was a really interesting storyline. It's my very first adult sci-fi that I've ever read, and I was thoroughly impressed by how much I really enjoyed it. However, starting the month of November, I had 15 books on my TBR, and that's a lot of books to handle. And being this chunky and seeing as I still had quite a bit to read, I just didn't want to force myself to read this and then put myself behind on all the rest of the TBR books that I needed to read this month. Once I get behind, it's so hard to catch up, and if I don't make it this month, I will have a lot of punishments. So this got put to the side for now, but I will definitely go back to it at some point. And I'm pretty sure most of the books that I started a good amount of, I still have my bookmarks in them, so this one is no exception. I have Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. I was buddy reading this with Brayden at one point, and I got 7 chapters in, only like 50 pages, and I just wasn't feeling the storyline. This has to do with heroes who won the first time around, whatever monster they were fighting or whatever bad guy they were fighting, they won. And the question is, can they win a second time when things hit the fan? Are they able to save the world and their own lives? And I thought that the premise was good, sounded good. It sounded like something that I would really like, because I really like superheroes. I like that type of premise. Like Renegades is very similar to this, and I loved Renegades, but this one just didn't click for me. I didn't really care for the characters in the first 50 pages, and I find that buddy reading is a lot harder for me than you would think that it would be, because then I feel forced to read it when I'm not ready to pick it up, and I think that was a big reason why I didn't continue on with this. I was buddy reading it, I wasn't feeling it as much as I really wanted to, and so all those things combined, I just didn't pick it back up. But I do want to try again, but I'm not. This is one of those books that if I don't end up reading the whole thing, I'm not going to force myself. I'm going to try again from the beginning, see how much I can get through, and hope that it's better the second time around than the first. Okay, this one is probably my most embarrassing book on my pile of shame because I have 50 pages left, and that is Running Wild by Linda Howard and Linda Jones. I picked this up for a smutty secret TBR that I was going to do at one point. I ended up swapping this readathon for some more important topics that I wanted to focus on, and so I just ended up reading this one book out of the 4 that I had, and I read all the way up until page 327. I literally have 50 pages to go, and I have not picked this up, and this book is just getting into like the really suspenseful part of the book. This follows a girl who is on the run from her ex-boyfriend, and she ends up in this really small town with this cowboy, and they end up creating a relationship. It's very smutty. It had the things that I wanted in it, and I like the storyline. I think that it's interesting. I can see where it's going for sure. I just never finished it. So eventually I will read the last 50 pages of this. Eventually. I don't know when, but I will for sure try to finish this sometime soon. Okay, I thought I didn't have a bookmark in this one, but I do. I got to page 19 of Juliet Takes a Breath. This is by Gary Rivera. I was reading this for my Pride reading vlog that didn't actually make it up to you guys, unfortunately, but I had a full week where I was just reading gay, queer books, and this was one of the choices that I picked for that month, or that week, I'm sorry, and I didn't love it. I got to page 19 and I wasn't really jiving with the writing style, and I think at this point I was kind of already in a slump, and so trying to pick this up just wasn't working for me, but because of the topic that it's about, I do really want to read this. This follows a mixed individual who is also lesbian, and she's really trying to find herself, figure out what she wants out of life, figure out what she's looking for in a relationship and in a partner, and I just thought it sounded really good. There's some more stuff to it, but that's the very, very, very watered down version of what this book is about. But I am intrigued to pick this up at some point, but this is one of those books, again, if I don't end up finishing it, I'm not going to push myself too hard because I don't know, I'm just getting over the idea of pushing myself to read books that I'm not enjoying just to get to the end, just to tell you guys that I didn't like it. So I'm hoping that's not the case for this book, but I really want to push myself and try to read it again. All right, the next one is I Have Big Friendship. This is by, I am not going to try to pronounce that name, but I got to page 21. Yeah, I got really far. This is a nonfiction book about 2 friends, one white, one black, and they live miles and miles away from each other, and it's just talking about how they kept their friendship together even though it was long distance, and they had a lot of issues leading up to when they wrote this book, but it sounded really good. The first 21 pages that I read were fantastic. Just with this nonfiction particularly, the pages were super long, the writing was super dense, and it was really hard for me to just like binge it, and I had every intention of like reading this slowly throughout the month, and I just never did that. I read my first sitting and I never picked it up again, so this is another book that I really want to get around to finishing because I think that it could have some really insightful things about friendship in here, but alas, I won't know until I actually read it. All right, here's another one that I am really, really, really ashamed about, and that is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I read halfway through. I got to page, let's see, I don't even know, let's see. I'm on page 145, chapter 7. When I had it on Goodreads, I was literally halfway through this book, and I was loving it. I was loving it so much. I was enjoying everything that I was reading. I was having so much fun while reading it, and then I just put it down. I have no idea why. I think I was reading it towards the end of the month, and a new TBR came in and kind of kicked this out, and I just never got around to finishing it, but it's on my 5-star predictions. I really want to finish it. This is like one of the books that I want to finish the most out of all of the books that I have on this pile because it was just so good, and I left off like on one of the most pivotal parts of the storyline, and I don't know what happened, and it's only my fault. I am the only person to blame, but this one needs to get read soon for sure. All right, up next we have The Selection by Kira Cass. I got to page 61, so quite a bit of reading to do. And it's not that I didn't like the story, it's just that I think that while I was reading this, I was reading this in the month of September, and September was a hard reading month for me. I hit a really big slump, and I just didn't want to read anymore, and that just happened right around the wrong time. And does that make sense? Does that sentence make sense? I don't think so. What am I saying? I read this at the wrong time. That's what I was trying to say. I was going to buddy read it with a friend. They weren't feeling it either, and it wasn't that I didn't like the storyline, because I think that this has potential for me to really love, even though it is a older YA series. It just wasn't the time, and I need to find the right time to read this because I think that I could really enjoy it. All right, and the very last book that I'm going to talk about today is a hard one for me. Really, really hard, because I don't know how I feel about it, and I don't know if I want to keep it, and I don't know if I want to continue on, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Obviously, it's a classic, and I want to love it. I do. I got to page 55. And I want to love it, and I want to love classics, and I want to understand the hype behind it, but every single classic that I have read, I've just come out of my experience thinking, why did I read this? What is the reason, why is this a classic? Why is it so acclaimed, and why does everybody love it? Because half the time, I don't understand. More than half the time, honestly. And for this one particularly, the writing style of this book just kills me, and it goes right over my head. I have no idea what the characters are talking about. Like, I don't understand what you're saying to me, and I wish that I did, because I think that this book could be amazing. I just don't get it. So I think that I really have to like sit down, because I was listening to this just via the audiobook, and I think that was a mistake. I really want to sit down and listen to the audiobook, read the book physically, digest every line, every word, and really try to grasp the story as a whole. But I haven't gotten around to doing that, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one. I'm not gonna lie, this one has like been teetering on the edge of an unhaul for quite some time, but I do want to give it another try. I want to test my luck, see if classics can be for me, but I don't know. Plus, this edition is gorgeous. Like, oh, and this is now the second leather-bound Barnes & Noble edition of a classic that I have purchased, and I unhauled the other one, so I really don't want to do that with this one too, but I guess we will find out. Hopefully, it's not the case, but we'll see. Okay, here are all the books, plus 2 more that I don't own physically that are on my pile of shame. Unfortunately, this is a good stack of pages here. I really hope that I can get around to all of, if not all of them, some of them, rather soon, and try to dwindle down my pile of shame and my TBR, because both of those things need some help. And this could definitely do that, but I don't want to put pressure on myself to read something and then not enjoy it, and then feel bad for wasting all this time that I could have just focused my brain power on other things. But I want to finish all of these. A lot of them I was really, really enjoying, and just want to go back to. Others I'm like, do I really need to try again? But I guess we'll find out once I read them, hopefully. Cross our fingers, right? Alright, that is the end of this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. I would love to know down below books that you have on your pile of shame, books that you've started and picked up and haven't quite got around to finishing. I would love to chat with you guys about that. If you guys have read any of these books and really enjoyed them, please let me know so I know which ones to prioritize first. But yeah, that is the end of this video. If you made it to the end of this video, leave this emoji. I don't really know how you explain it. The very shocked man, because we're all shooketh right about now. But that is it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And of course, leave any comments, questions, and suggestions in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!